If you're tired of being drawn to men who leave you anxious, confused, and heartbroken, if you're ready to attract the kind of partner who makes you feel safe instead of stressed, then keep watching because this video is for you. Did you know that the very behaviors keeping you trapped in anxious attachment are precisely what secure men find most unattractive? This is because their brains respond differently to stability and reciprocity. Secure men want completely different things than the toxic partners you're used to. Secure men are not drawn to desperation, over-accommodation, or people-pleasing. They're looking for confidence, curiosity, and clear communication. Toxic partners love emotional chaos. Secure men are repelled by it. And once you know how to shift your approach so you can start showing up in your relationships this way, they'll start seeing you as someone they want to commit to. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist, and today I'm going to reveal why the strategies you've been using in toxic relationships completely backfire with secure men, and how to shift your behaviors to attract the kind of man that you know you deserve. For years, I was also trapped in an anxious attachment style myself. I know firsthand the exhausting cycle of seeking validation, overthinking texts, and constantly wondering if you're good enough. What I discovered through my journey to become secure, and what I've seen confirmed with thousands of clients, is that there's a neurobiological reason why anxious women keep attracting avoidant men instead of secure ones. Today, I'm going to break down the exact science behind this pattern and give you practical, actionable strategies to break it. I'll show you how to rewire your attachment system so that secure men are not only drawn to you, but you're actually attracted to them too. We'll uncover the hidden mental blocks keeping you stuck in unhealthy cycles, and most importantly, I'll teach you step-by-step strategies to shift your behavior so that secure men see you as long-term relationship material, even if you're currently anxiously attached. And the good news, you don't have to completely fix your attachment style before you can attract a secure partner. You just need to understand what secure men are actually looking for. Let's start with what's happening in your brain right now. Anxious attachment develops in early childhood when caregivers were inconsistently responsive. Your infant brain learned that connection requires hypervigilance, pursuit, and extraordinary effort. There are two pathways you need to understand in this process. One is intermittent reinforcement. As you get deeper connections and people respond to you, you get a flood of dopamine, a flood of oxytocin, and a flood of adrenaline. And it feels incredible. This gets you addicted to being reinforced, to getting that reassurance from somebody. This addiction is what keeps you coming back and why you're stuck. Now, as you chase that hit and continue getting more and more and more, you're not always rewarded. Sometimes people respond, other times they don't. But when they do respond, it feels incredible. And this is just like trying to hit jackpot on a slot machine. Gambling is the same thing as intermittent reinforcement in an anxious and avoidant relationship. You are chasing that hit, knowing the next hit is about to come. It's just one button push away. There's also emotional impermanence, where your brain doesn't understand that somebody's love for you continues even if their love disappears for a while. This is based on object permanence that babies develop over time, and they also develop emotional permanence. Object permanence says when an object isn't in front of me, it still exists. They have to learn this through peekaboo, through pulling the towel off and seeing the toy underneath it. These objects still exist. Emotional permanence, same thing. When someone isn't in front of me reinforcing me, they still care about me. They still love me. They haven't gone away, decided they hate me, and now they're going to come back and destroy our relationship. Emotional impermanence, intermittent reinforcement keeps an anxious person stuck. This creates specific neural pathways in your limbic system, particularly with your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, which regulates threat detection. Your brain then becomes wired to do a couple of key things. One thing it does is register any withdrawal from other people, withdrawal of attention in particular, as potential abandonment. And abandonment feels like death because you can't self-regulate. You need regulation from outside. It also will release stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, in response to that perceived rejection. Amp up the system, crank everything into overdrive, and throw everything in to chase that approval. We need this more than anything else. And then it activates your pursuit behaviors to regain that connection. Detect threat, overclock through the roof so you're performing at a high level, and then use that overclocking to chase aggressively into fawning behaviors and get connection and get intermittent reinforcement. Chase that dopamine high. This attracts the wrong men, okay, in a couple of key ways. Number one, dopamine and anxiety. If you've been stuck in anxious avoidant relationships, you are addicted neurochemically to that roller coaster. The same psychological mechanism, intermittent reinforcement, that gambling addicts have, you have. It keeps anxious women hooked on avoidant men until they stop. And that emotional impermanence, if you struggle to feel loved when you're not getting constant validation, you're likely caught in that loop as well. Now, why does this matter specifically if you're trying to connect to an avoidant man? Well, remember that secure attachment begins much slower on purpose. You are not supposed to feel high at the beginning of a securely attached bond. So, secure attachment, healthy, responsible bonding, feels boring at first, especially if you're used to the chaos. You crave the high of unpredictability, even when it's painful. So the good news here is you can rewire your brain to crave stability instead of craving dysfunction. This was a learned behavior. You didn't come out as a baby doing this. You learned to do this, but it's not an optimal state, so it's not good for you. We can change it back. Secure men, though, have a completely different neurochemical response pattern. Their prefrontal cortex, the judgment center of the brain, remains fully engaged during relationship stress, which allows constant rational thought to prevail over their emotional reactivity. Cortisol is supposed to be regulated by GABA, and GABA floods through your brain when you have high oxytocin from a variety of healthy, loving, intimate sources. So the more secure attachment love you have in your life through family and friends, the more you are resilient against cortisol and stress, the more cortisol and stress cannot overtake your brain, the more that you continue to engage your free prefrontal cortex and make rational, long-term decision-making. Whether you are wildly passionately in love and feeling swept away, but don't let that happen, you stay rational, or you are scared, or you are hurt and resentful, or whatever other wild feeling up or down you might be having. So when you display anxious behaviors like over-accommodating to avoid conflict, seeking constant reassurance, emotional volatility when feeling insecure, and craving that initial hit, the secure man's brain sees that, and it doesn't register these as signals of interest or devotion. Instead, he's expecting a securely attached woman and a securely attached response. Instead of doing that and seeing you like an avoidant man and saying, oh, good, someone that I can connect to, his well-developed threat detection system identifies your behaviors as warning signs of an emotionally unstable connection, somebody who's going to bring instability and danger to his life. The great irony here is that the very behaviors that your brain thinks will secure connections are precisely what drives secure men away. What are these behaviors exactly that you're doing? And more importantly, what can we do to change them? That's probably what you're asking right now. What can I do to find these things and cut them out? And how do I start attracting a secure man? I'm going to show you right now. Okay, let me share a powerful metaphor that explains why anxiously attached people struggle in their relationships. I call it the hostage mentality. Okay, a child with anxious attachment. As a child, you were essentially a hostage to your caregiver's unpredictable emotional availability. This doesn't even mean they were harmful to you on purpose, or mean, or malicious, or hurt you. It could just mean they were wildly unregulated, didn't know how to care for you, weren't present, got unstable. There could be a variety of reasons. But for whatever those reasons were, you couldn't meet your own needs because you're a baby. So you learned to comply meticulously with what everything others wanted all the time, hoping to earn love and care from other people. The science here, as we detailed above, but I'm going to go through it again: oxytocin, dopamine, adrenaline. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your system and say, oh no, there's a threat. You give those good responses, what we call the fawning behaviors from your sympathetic nervous system. They respond and take care of you. Oh, okay. Hey, you want to love? Okay, here's a hug. Flood of oxytocin, dopamine, and more adrenaline. Amazing hit. Programmed you as an infant. I'm safe because I fawned. I'm safe because I fawned. That's what your brain hears, okay? Say it out loud for a moment. I'm safe because I fawned. Now, as an adult, you're no longer a physical hostage, yet your nervous system still operates as if you are. This is what's called an external locus of control. I can't regulate myself, maybe 30%. I need about 70% other people helping me feel better, or I'm destroyed. I don't know what to do. I can only make people happy, and they can try to help me feel better by giving me that attention. I will do anything for that connection. And that's where you become a hostage. As a result, you walk into dating situations already behaving like a hostage to your head, with a gun to your head, hypervigilant, overly accommodating, afraid to ask questions or set boundaries because you're waiting for them to take care of you. And if you get it wrong, they will leave. Couple things this manifests as. First thing is filtering everything you say to avoid potential rejection. Maybe not saying anything at all. A lot of anxiously attached women look boring and quiet and without personality from the outside because that's the only way they know how to not offend somebody. Abandoning your own needs to please others. And what this turns you into is a doll for other people's glorification and joy and pleasure. You're just an emotionless doll for others to toy with. Secure people, by the way, don't like either of those, but hurtful people will. There's also excessive worry about bothering someone by expressing yourself, right? When was the last time you were able to share a thought comfortably without worrying it would upset someone? And prematurely investing emotionally before seeing consistent behavior because you got that huge rush of love bombing at the beginning. This is my person. I'm giving you everything. Please tell me your name so that I can give you my kidneys. That's the anxious person's behavior. I will give you everything. And I've only known you for an hour. Unfortunately, very common. I want to take a moment to invite you to my attachment immersion retreat, the first week of May up in Vail, Colorado, where I'm going to be training and teaching and then practicing attachment skills, relationship skills, and all the communication skills you need to build an incredible relationship. If you want to learn more about this and join me, please check out my website, adamlanesmith.com. There's a retreat link right on there. The outcome of this behavior, when you meet a securely attached person, when they see it and they encounter you, first, they're confused. They don't understand why you're acting like a hostage when no one is holding you captive. Secure men are not looking for perfection or a blank slate or a doll. They're looking for reciprocity, curiosity, personality, morals, goals, desires, needs. Secure men are drawn to healthy, living partners who ask meaningful questions and show genuine interest. Now contrast this with toxic men that you're probably used to dating. They see free money, someone who will accommodate their inconsistency without any complaints for the first year. Your hostage behavior literally repels secure men while attracting those who will reinforce your anxious patterns. Because as you pull in toxic people who don't want to give you much at all and don't want to intimately connect with you, your brain lunges into that intermittent reinforcement. When they run away, you have to fawn and chase. You have to beg for that connection. You get the dopamine and oxytocin hit. Then you get the rush of feeling great. And then they leave again and you feel lost. And you do this for 10, 20, 30 years. Some people come to me after 40 or 50 years and they're in their 60s or 70s and they've been doing this all their life. Now, manipulatively avoidant people in particular love to exploit this behavior. They're very different from ethical avoidants who don't understand the difference. Manipulative avoidant people will do this because it feels really good to them. They may not be out to hurt you, but they also may not care as much because they can justify a lot of their negative behaviors. And personality disorder people especially are really going to take advantage of this behavior. And it just continues the cycle of making you believe you are unworthy of love. So what can you do? Well, the single most powerful shift you can make is to, well, it's counterintuitive, okay? It might shock you before I say it. Ask more questions. Most anxiously attached people have been programmed not to ask questions. Think back to your childhood, the earliest you can remember. You might have been naturally curious. I mean, you were as a child. All children are obsessively curious. You probably at one point were constantly asking why and how. My daughter right now, 1 year old, that, and this is a question. What's that? What's the name for that? What does it do? That's all she can say is that, but she says it to everything because she wants to understand her world. So then we parrot back what the words are to her and we explain and we show because we're secure, engaged parents. But somewhere along the line, someone taught you that questions are dangerous. You learn that questions make people annoyed with you. You learn that questions got you punished or criticized. You learn that questions cause people to withdraw or abandon you. You learned that you're annoying for a natural thing every child does. This neural conditioning rewired your prefrontal cortex to suppress question-asking behavior. And I want to say I am so sorry for that. I am so sorry that you experienced that. No child should have to experience that. I'm a father of 5, and it's my duty to answer their questions so that they know questions are welcome and they never stop asking. And I'm so sorry that your parents didn't give that to you. Now, the result of this, you enter relationships with a severely limited ability to gather crucial information about potential partners, expectations, needs, boundaries, goals, everything. But asking good questions filters out the wrong partners, and it attracts the right ones. A secure man enjoys these question-driven conversations. A toxic man avoids them. Here's where the science gets really fascinating. Secure attachment is built on transparent communication exchange. When you don't ask questions, you cannot build the neural pathways required for secure connection. You are essentially trying to build a house without any foundation on the bottom. Have you ever tried to build a house where the walls are just on mud? That's what this relationship style is like. Let me explain a little bit here how this works at a neurochemical level. Asking questions activates your prefrontal cortex in the brain, which dampens your amygdala hyperreactivity. It actually slows down your fear response because you're asking important questions, especially if they're received well. Now, receiving answers releases small amounts of dopamine and oxytocin. Yes, creating positive reinforcement, not the overwhelming slot machine jackpot that you might be looking for, but enough that your brain says, that felt good. I'm going to do that more. Questions are a good thing. And then both of you are experiencing that as you go back and forth. This exchange creates new neural pathways associated with security rather than anxiety. And over time, the steady flow of very easy, responsive dopamine and oxytocin beats the occasional payout from the huge jackpot. I have to chase it and be afraid and scared and terrified, and occasionally I get just enough to keep going, or I can get exactly how much I'm looking for all the time by asking a simple question with no stress and enjoy the experience. And the other person does too. Your brain knows one of those is superior to the other. That's why over time, these pathways become your default response, which rewires your attachment pattern. Asking questions has a powerful filtering effect, by the way. Secure men welcome questions and they respond thoughtfully. And they'll even say, that's a good question. Toxic Potentially harmful behaviors, though, from partners who hate this stuff, that's where you're going to see them shutting down the questions, because they expose inconsistencies and red flags. They say, no thanks, stop, you're asking way too much. Wow, you're awfully nosy. That's a lot of questions for a first date. You want to hear that because you want to drive those people away. Let me give you a concrete model for how to implement this questioning approach, okay? I call it conversation tennis. In a healthy conversation with a secure partner, information flows back and forth like a friendly game of tennis. You hit the ball, asking a question, they return it, answer, and ask you something, and the exchange continues with a natural rhythm. Okay, it's back and forth, no score, fun, you're laughing. Oh, good hit, that was awesome. Oh, you too, nice serve. And you're playing this fun game back and forth with a good friend. That's what a good conversation should be, and it's reliant on questions. This is why many people in dating fall flat on their face and nobody's interested, because they never ask questions. They throw out statements and try to be interesting. It's the questions that make you interesting. But in an anxious and avoidant dynamic in particular, one person is constantly serving and begging questions while the other one barely returns the ball at all or hits it into the net. The game isn't fun, it's exhausting. Now this is the anxious person chasing that intermittent reinforcement. When you hit the ball, you hope the other person's going to hit it back to you with a smile on your face, but instead they spike it into the net. They turn the other way and let the ball fly past them. They ignore it. Maybe occasionally they hit the ball back. It's you perpetually chasing after your dad, saying, Dad, can I play with you? And once a month he says, okay, yeah, let's play for 20 minutes. And then you have a great time. But the other 29 days, I'm too busy, kid. I'm too busy. You're waiting for that one 20-minute hit for the month. You're waiting for the one time they hit the ball back. When you're dating a secure partner, here's the exact formula of what to do, okay? Instead, ask a meaningful question about their values, their goals, their experiences, a story, something bigger in their life. One thing that's a good question that I tell people is, what are you working on right now? Who's a mentor to you? Who keeps you accountable? What are you building in your life? What's your biggest goal that you're actually working toward right now? Those are big questions. Listen fully to their response, okay? When they come back, they're going to ask you a question. Answer approximately 50 to 75% of the detail they provided. Not more, not less. If it's less, you look evasive. If it's more, you can go on and on and on for an hour and their eyes glaze over. Instead, it's about a 75% percentage that you should be aiming for right here. This is a great place in dating to make sure you're giving an adequate number of answers. Okay, give them that. I'll explain more how to do this in a minute. And then end your response with another question. Keep playing tennis. Questions. For example, you might ask, what are you looking for in a relationship long term? You listen to their answer. And they say something like, I'm looking for someone who shares my values around family and wants to build something meaningful together. I've learned from past relationships that communication is really important to me. So what about your communication style? What works best for you in relationships? This balanced exchange, back and forth like this, activates the brain's reward system in secure people. Secure people get rewarded for these conversations. It feels amazing. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. Have you ever had a really good conversation that left you feeling so recharged and so fulfilled and so content you were glowing? That was a good conversation with probably a lot of questions and a lot of answers back and forth. That's what secure people expect in a relationship conversation. They thrive on mutual discovery and mutual curiosity. This is why I say that the biggest mistake anxious women make that pushes away secure partners is being overly accommodating and having unclear communication where you're just making them feel good. Secure attachment is based on negotiation-driven relationships. Toxic men thrive on vague, undefined expectations. Secure men want boundaries and direct communication. So stop doing a couple of things, okay? Instead of over-explaining your worth, if he can't see it, he's not your person, so don't over-explain your worth. Instead, set clear expectations early. I'm looking for a serious relationship. What about you? And don't justify your needs. You don't need permission to want a healthy relationship. Of course you want a healthy relationship. You're a human being. Why would you go on a date if you're not looking for a healthy, secure relationship? So ask. I'm looking for a really serious, happy, healthy relationship. What about you? Secure men are not looking for someone who plays games and can't ask those questions or answer them. They want a partner who's direct and confident in what she wants. Think of it another way. Secure attached people are not here to date for the rest of their life. They're dating to find the right partner to build their life with. They're not here to date for 6 years and occasionally ask a question or two. When someone consistently fails to return the ball by not answering your questions or never asking any of their own, this is a neurobiological warning sign. And if they start complaining about your number of questions, get out. However, with open communication and clearly stated expectations in mind, we need to talk about a technical aspect of conversation that anxiously attached people usually struggle with: how much to share. Anxiously attached people typically do one of two things. They overshare everything immediately, trauma dumping because they can't hold it back, or they share almost nothing out of fear of rejection. Both extremes signal insecure attachment to a secure partner. Instead, we're going to use what I call the 2/3 answers technique that we talked about a moment ago. Remember, we spoke about responding with approximately 50 to 75% of that level of detail someone gives? Now I'm going to show you exactly how to do it effectively, because this is something that creates balanced reciprocity that feels comfortable to secure people. For example, if they share a 30-second answer about their career, goals, and such on, your response should be about 15 to 20 seconds, followed by a question. This technique has a neurobiological basis. It prevents overwhelming the other person's nervous system with too much information, while also demonstrating healthy vulnerability, that perfect balance that secure attachment requires. If you share less than half of their answer, their brain immediately pricks up and says, "Why are you being evasive?" Then they start wondering why you're not sharing anything. Then you look like a threat and they begin to pull away from you because you're hiding something. Now, what's going to happen if you overshare is you might start saying things that are not helpful. You might make self-deprecating jokes that insult yourself, or start rambling on and look dysregulated, and they can sense it now and see that you're anxious and stressed. Or you might just start sharing things you don't intend to and blurting out things because you can't stop. And this looks like a problem. And the worst of all, you just bore them to death because you're rambling so badly. They will stop listening and their eyes will glaze. About 2/3 is the right answer. Remember, share challenges in particular you're overcoming and how you're overcoming them, not just problems without solutions. This is not trauma dumping and frustration dumping and venting. This demonstrates a growth mindset, which secure partners find highly attractive. Now, there is one vital thing that anxiously attached people must understand if they want to attract a secure partner, and this is something that's often overlooked. Secure men are not attracted to partners who place all their emotional needs on just one person. Secure men are not going to look for someone who makes their whole world revolve around them. Anxious attachment creates what neuroscientists call oxytocin hyperfixation, where all of your bonding hormones are focused on a single person. This creates an unsustainable pressure that even secure men cannot withstand. The solution is to diversify your oxytocin portfolio. This means building deeper connections with friends and family so that you get that supply from other people. Developing communities and group affiliations where you feel connected to the people around you and you're getting that flow of steady brain chemistry. It also means creating meaningful, non-romantic relationships in your life, not just one person who makes you feel good. Studies show that women with diverse social connections have more regulated nervous systems and they attract healthier partners. Why? Because their brains aren't operating from a scarcity mindset around connection. You are co-regulating properly with your family and friends and showing up calm and steady and secure when you're dating a new partner. The benefits here are incalculable. The benefits is that they see you as a person with an amazing community, and also you are completely calm. When you meet a potential partner with a diversified oxytocin portfolio, you are not desperate for their attention to regulate your nervous system. This changes everything. about how you interact with them. Now, if you've been over-investing in emotionally unavailable men, it's time to shift your energy toward men who are already open to commitment. Secure men are not afraid of commitment, but I will say they don't rush it. Instead, what they look for is a couple of key things. Number one, consistency, not hot and cold behaviors back and forth. They look for self-regulation, not emotional volatility, where you are craving that input and connection, or where you have a dopamine fixation. And they also are looking for authenticity, not performance or cool girl behavior or hyper-accommodating behavior or fake secret contracts of I will give you everything and ask for nothing, which they know are not sustainable. So if you want to attract a secure man, there's a couple of key things you've got to do. Here's some practical strategies. Everything else in this video, yes, do, but here's some pieces right here. If you're dating a secure man, number one, mirror his pacing. If he's steady, be steady. If he's a bit slow, don't rush him. Show and don't tell. Secure men watch for behavior, not just words. If you walk in saying, I'm really secure, everything about me is secure, I'm so regulated and calm, that doesn't matter. Are you acting calm? Are you acting steady? Do you have calm boundaries that show that you're not desperate? Are you building a life consistent with the married life you might be looking for that you're telling him you want? Or are you lunging into relationships at feelings, hoping it will work out? Show him. Don't just tell him. And finally, stay in your lane. And I mean that in the kindest, most gentle way. Don't overfunction in the relationship. Don't over-accommodate. Let things unfold naturally. It is not your job to rescue someone really fast or make them feel amazing on the first date. It's your job to see if you guys are a good fit and see if you can enjoy each other's company. I want to be very clear here. The journey from anxious to secure attachment isn't about becoming a completely different person overnight. And it's not about changing who you are at the core. It's about recognizing the patterns that keep you stuck and making strategic shifts in how you approach relationships. It's learning the skills of relating within a secure bond where both partners feel comfortable sharing and asking for needs to be met and trusting the other partner to do the same. Because the right man, quite frankly, is not a unicorn. You just need to know how to recognize him and how to become the kind of woman who attracts him effortlessly. So remember, from this video, here's what you must do. And a lot of you in the comment sections have asked me for a recap at the end of what to do. Here you go. Ask more questions. This filters out harmful partners and attracts secure ones in a huge way. Play conversation tennis. Maintain a balanced give and take back and forth. Use the 2/3 answer technique. Share appropriately without overwhelming. Diversify your oxytocin portfolio. Don't put all your connection needs on one person. And finally, maintain a steady pace in your dating cycle. Don't jump all in super fast. If they really are your soulmate, like you feel on the first date, they'll still be your soulmate on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th date. Have calm conversations. Don't worry about missing that train. There's another train coming along soon, and you don't need to get caught in front of it. Now, if you're struggling to implement these strategies on your own, you don't have to do this alone. This is exactly the kind of deep work I do with my coaching clients daily. Breaking free from anxious attachment patterns often requires guidance, especially when your brain is wired to return to familiar patterns under stress. I would love to help you transform your relationship patterns. So if you're ready to attract the secure partner you deserve and you want to work with me directly, visit adamlanesmith.com and book a coaching session, or send a message to my team at support@adamlanesmith.com. If you have any more questions, we'll help you determine if coaching is the right fit for your journey towards secure attachment. Remember, you weren't born anxiously attached. You were conditioned to be. And what was conditioned can be reconditioned with the right approach. So please leave your questions, as you're going to ask them, in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more attachment insights every week. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist, and I'll see you in the next video.